Most people look at their external circumstances to decide if their conscious creation is working. But interestingly, your reality may already be shifting way before you begin seeing the big external result. So, there are several signs to show you if your consciousness and your identity are beginning to shift. And funny enough, one of those is that things start going a little sideways. But let's begin with the first. So, the first indication that your identity is shifting is your dreams. So your dreams are a direct reflection of your subconscious mind and what is happening in your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is essentially your blueprint of who you are, what your identity is, what you believe, what actions you take based on those beliefs and that identity. So all of these programs are stored in your subconscious mind, and your dreams are often playing out certain themes that are available in your subconscious. They're playing out any kind of destructive themes that you have going on. Your dreams will play out your identity and who you see yourself as, so who you believe yourself to be, which is why it's such a great tool for figuring out where you're at with your identity shifting, right? Because your dreams are going to show you what programs you're purging. Your dreams are going to show you and practice the new identity that you are implementing as well. So, when you are identity shifting, your dreams are pretty much the first place I would look to see if something is changing. Now, some of you might say, okay, but I never remember my dreams. I don't know how to do that. It's very simple to work with your dreams. All you have to do is begin writing down anything and everything that you can remember, whether it's just a feeling or a color or anything. The more consistent you are with this, as you tell your subconscious mind by writing it down that your dreams are important to you, you will start to recall more of your dreams. And then once you have a few themes that are coming up, then you can analyze those dreams and figure out, oh, okay, look, I was just creating this new identity for myself. And now I'm purging the old one in this dream, right? Maybe my identity is that I'm a peaceful person. And in this dream, I had so much anger. So that tells you that you're actually purging and releasing that anger from your past identity through your dream, which is so cool. And I could talk about this for days. So I'm actually going to create a whole separate video on working with your dreams, your consciousness, and your identity. But let's keep it moving. So this is one of the first signs that your identity is shifting. So if you're already someone who remembers their dreams, then pay attention to the themes that are happening, because you're either purging in your dreams or you're practicing something. So, another sign that your identity has already begun to shift is that the actions associated with that new identity become easier and effortless and natural. So, for example, if your new identity that you're implementing is I'm an award winning author, then for you, writing is going to become something that is easy and natural. You're not going to run into as many writer's blocks. You're going to begin to have more and more ideas being downloaded into you. You'll almost have this urge to write, or the desire to create a schedule to start writing every day. And the previous reservations and resistance that you have had when it comes to all things writing are going to be diminished, and things are just going to flow more easily for you when it comes to that identity. Because when you start with the identity, then all of the actions around that identity become natural versus you having to force yourself into doing certain things that are not aligned with your current identity. So this is one of the coolest things that happens, because it's just nice that things become easy, right? You don't have to force yourself to do anything. You just align your identity to the things that you want, to the life that you want, to who you want to be. And then all of the actions surrounding that become much more easy and natural. Another example is if you were to like all of the other things around being an award-winning author become easy, the actions that you need to take, right? Like submitting your work. You're not going to feel as reserved about doing that, right? You'll have more kind of motivation to share your work, to have people read it, to submit it uh, to publishers and elsewhere, and contests, etc. So everything in relation to that identity then becomes easier and more natural as you keep working on implementing and imprinting that identity into your consciousness. So it's very, very cool. So the next sign that your identity has already begun to shift is that your old identity has to and because of that, things can get a little bit uncomfortable because you may have old emotions that you haven't processed with that old identity come up to the surface, whether it's in your dreams or in your waking life. You may have old thoughts related to that old identity coming through. You just may have emotional releases where you essentially kind of revert back to that old identity for the time being. You have a little bit of a meltdown because you're feeling all of the things from that old identity. But if you are consciously implementing that new identity, this is going to be temporary. It's going to be a momentary situation that you have to process through. Just allow yourself to breathe, allow yourself to be reminded that this is just old things that I'm processing right now. And then once you've had that emotional release, you're automatically going to go back to, oh, I just processed this and now I can actually continue to move forward with my new identity, right? So it's just a momentary lapse of lapse of peace, I guess you could say. But this is very normal and it does happen as you progress. It's almost like your consciousness or your old identity is throwing a little tantrum and is like, but like, why are you getting rid of me, essentially? So just soothe yourself in those moments and allow yourself to grieve or to be angry or to be sad or whatever it is. But don't attach to those old stories because those stories are tied to the old identity. So what I would recommend is soothing yourself, whether that's by, taking a nice bath or going for a walk or grounding or whatever feels good for you, and then go right back into implementing the new identity and going into that work. So, another sign that your identity is already shifting is that shit tends to go sideways, and that is completely normal. So, don't let it discourage you. But this will often happen when you are shifting your reality because I think of it almost like your identity is sort of your old identity is testing you to see if you're actually ready to become this new person, right? So, this is where you really want to be conscious of how you are reacting. For example, if your identity that you're stepping into is, I am wealthy, and then all of a sudden you get an unexpected bill and in the past, you may have like had a mental breakdown or just had an emotional meltdown about this bill showing up and like not being able to pay it, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you would get angry, whatever it was. That is your old identity. Um, Basically testing you to see, hey, are we still going to respond in the same way to this thing? Because someone who's wealthy would not even bat an eyelash, right? Like they would see the bill, say, okay, well, I'm glad I have enough money to pay for this, right? Um, and they would just take care of it. So take any kind of things that go sideways, like an opportunity falling through, a person leaving your life, an unexpected bill, um, just crazy things happening, like, the dog having to go to the vet, any of those things, take them as feedback from your old identity and just a little test from the universe to see if you're ready to adopt that new identity that you're implementing, if you're ready to respond from the new identity. So yeah, it's a fun little fun little exercise that we often have to go through. Another sign that your identity has already begun to shift is that your external reality actually does start reflecting those changes. So let's take the example of you wanting to become an award winning writer again. Your external reality, once you implement that identity, might show you someone random who's like, oh, you should write a book. That's such an interesting story. Or you get an opportunity out of the blue from someone you met ages ago. Or you are drawn to the next step in your life. So oftentimes, and this is something that I've seen personally, is where when you step into a new identity, you will begin to be drawn to what is going to help to further activate that identity. So you'll be drawn to opportunities, you'll be drawn to, intuitively drawn to courses, you'll be drawn to anything that is going to support that identity fully being activated. So something that is going to draw you to the greater manifestation of that identity, right? To like the bits and pieces of that identity that you want to have manifest in your life. And this is so cool because this is where you start seeing the synchronicities and the little insights coming in. This is where you get all of the downloads. And yeah, this is just a really fun part of the process is when you actually start seeing things externally. And what's interesting is that this is also when you will begin noticing opportunities that maybe were there before, but you didn't have the courage or the understanding to accept that as an opportunity. So your perception of things will change at this point, and you'll start seeing life through the lens of that new identity, which is super exciting. So it's not about asking, when is my manifestation going to be here? But it's more so about asking yourself, who am I choosing to be today? Right? And always seeing things through that lens of your new identity. And then you'll notice all of the little things, all of the adjustments that are happening in your reality to show you that this new identity is beginning to take hold in your subconscious. So it may be your dreams changing, or it may be purging emotions, or things becoming easier, or shit going sideways, or beautiful synchronicities starting to come in. But once you recognize that these are all signs that your identity is shifting, you can stop looking for the end result and just know that you are already shifting and becoming who you chose to be.